In this video, we are going to discuss about verb. A verb is one of the main parts of a sentence or a question in English language. In fact, we can't have a sentence or a question without a verb. A verb signals an action or an occurrence or a state of being. A verb is actually a word that tells us what a person or animal or thing is doing. Most of the verbs show action, but some verbs do not show action and just indicate existence or state of being, like appear or seem, just a state of being of the noun. Every sentence must have a verb. As we've studied earlier, that a sentence has three parts: subject, verb, and object. So verb defines that what action or what state of being is done by this subject, and further what action is received by object. All right. A verb, based on its categorization, can be mental, physical, mechanical. All of them express activity. Now let's see an example. Martha sent gifts to her mother. Now over here, sent is the verb. Martha is the person who sent, so Martha would be the subject and rest would be the object. But see, Martha sent gifts. Gifts is actually what she sent. So first of all, what is a subject who answers the question who? Who did this action? Who sent? That's Martha. And object is the word or the group of words which answers the question what? What was sent? Gifts were sent. Now, to her mother is also a part of object, but it doesn't answer the question what. Which question does it answer? It answers whom. To whom were the gifts sent to? That was to her mother. So what exactly happens is, every object has two parts: direct object and indirect object. Let's see. Martha would be the subject, sent would be the verb, gifts would be the direct object, that is answers the question what, and whom question is answered by to her mother, that would be the indirect object. A direct object always answers the question what or whom. Indirect object answers the question to whom, for what, all these questions. An indirect object is actually the recipient of the direct object or an otherwise affected participant in the event. There must be a direct or an indirect object in a sentence to explain its complete meaning, but sentences do exist without object also. An indirect object cannot exist without a direct object. Let's take another example. Let's say he bought a bike for his son. Over here, what's the verb? Bought. And who bought? He. So that would be the subject and the rest would be the object. Now what was bought? A bike. So this would be the direct object, and for whom? That would be the indirect object, that's for his son. I hope it's clear. Now let's see some categories of verb. As we discussed, that verb can be categorized in three parts. First is a physical verb. Physical verb is action verb. Physical verb describes physical actions. When we create a motion with the body or with the tool or with some object to complete an action, the verb used over here is physical verb. That's an action verb. For example, he kicked the ball. Over here the word kicked, it's a physical action, kick. So that is a action verb, that's a physical verb. She ran away. Running is a physical exercise. So that is physical verb. Next would be the mental verb. Mental verb is when it is related to some concepts. That means it has meanings related to discovering or understanding or thinking or planning. Those are mental verbs. They refer to cognitive state, that means which cannot be touched or which is not actually into action. For example, I know you. So knowing is understanding. Knowing is an intangible. That means it cannot be touched. It cannot be put into action. I know you. She trusts me. Both of these, know, trust, believe, all these are mental verbs. State of being verbs. These are verbs which are also called linking verbs. They describe situation or condition that exist. They are actually inactive. In these, no action is performed. For example, she is fine. Over here, is state of being verb. He was present. He was. Now over here, no action is being performed. For example, I can say, I am a student. So am would be a state of being verb. Please be quiet. Be. We are happy. Are. All these are state of being verbs. All right. Now let's go through some types of verb. There are actually more than 10 types of verbs, but we are going to discuss the most important and the most used ones. The first is action verbs. Action verbs express specific action. These are verbs. They are used anytime you want to show action or discuss something, doing something. Like the subject is doing something, physically some action, then we use action verbs. Let's check an example. He stood there for a while. Stood is an action verb. He's standing. He came to your house. Came is an action verb. That's a physical action. He came. Next is an auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verbs are also known as helping verbs. They are used together with the main verb to show the verb's tense, like what exactly is verb doing, like is it doing it right now in present, or it has done in past, or has it completed it, or is it still doing it. All these explanations are depicted by auxiliary or helping verbs. Let's check an example. He is standing there. Now, which is the main verb? That's standing. And is an helping verb, auxiliary verb. It shows that right now he is standing there. I am coming to your house. Coming is the main verb. Am is a helping or auxiliary verb. Now next, check the next one. Next are transitive verbs. Transitive verbs are those which express doable activities. They have direct objects followed by these verbs. They mean something is doing some action, a verb is there, a subject is there, and an object is also there. In a transitive verb, if we are using a transitive verb and we make a sentence, if the object is not there, then the sentence would not be complete. So transitive verbs always are followed by an object. For example, he jumped from the wall. He jumped. This is a transitive verb. If I say he jumped, it would not be complete. From where or from what height? You have to specify something. I wrote this article. Wrote. If I say I wrote what? It would not be complete in that case. So I wrote this article. I wrote yesterday. There has to be something that's an object after transitive verbs. Transitive verbs always show what receives the action. Okay. Now, alternative to this would be intransitive verbs. Intransitive verbs do not have an object specified. No direct object follows intransitive verbs. They don't show up that the verb or the action is getting passed over to the object. For example, he smiled. We can say he smiled at me. But he smiled itself is also a complete sentence, that he smiled. We don't need to specify all the time at whom or for what reason. This is also a complete sentence. I laughed a lot. If I say I laughed, that's also a complete sentence. That doesn't need to be specified that I laughed at him or I laughed with him. It's not required. It's not mandatory all the time. So intransitive verbs are those which do not have an object mandatory with them. An object can be placed but not mandatorily. They complete a sentence individually with the subject. Alright. Now, after the types of verbs, we would discuss the applications of verbs. Now, what's the difference between the types and applications? See, in a sentence, one is the main verb that we just discussed. Other than the main verb, normal verbs are also used in different forms. First is gerund. What exactly happens is, verb sometimes forms some other form in a sentence. In those cases, there are gerunds, infinitive, and helping verb. Let's see one by one. Gerund. What exactly is a gerund? Whenever a verb is added with an ing, when an ing is added to the verb, it functions like a noun. It actually names an activity rather than some action. It names something. It actually shows the name of an activity. This is called a gerund, and any verb can be made a gerund. Let's check an example. I love jogging. See, if I say I jog every day, that would be a verb. If I say I love jogging, the process of jog is called jogging. That's the name of the process. So here it becomes a gerund, here it becomes a noun. So it would be noun or a gerund. And love would be verb. So this would be subject, this would be object. Smoking is a bad habit. Smoking. If I say I smoke every day, smoke over there would be a verb, right? The process of smoking. But the name of that process, when you smoke, the name of that process is smoking. That's a name. So that becomes a noun. So that is actually a gerund. When a verb is added with ing, it becomes a noun. It becomes a gerund. Let's see some applications and how to form gerunds. When any verb ends with e, what we do is we remove that e and add ing. Like slide, sliding. Write, writing. For example, I can say writing is a good habit. He loves writing. For verbs in which they end with ie, what we do is we change the ie into y and then add ing. Like die becomes dying, tie becomes tying. Tying a knot of tie every day is a good habit. Alright. He told him the process of tying a knot. So tying, dyeing over here, they all become a noun and they are called gerunds. Talking about the next one, how the gerunds are used in a sentence, like where are they placed? Initially, gerunds can be placed in the beginning of the sentence. They act as subject. For example, studying requires most of the time during the day. Studying over here is a gerund. That's a verb with ing. That's a noun. Studying requires. For example, I say smoking is a bad habit. Smoking here is a subject. So requires is the verb. Studying is the subject and rest of it is object. So gerunds can be placed in the subject of the sentence. They can also be placed in the object of the sentence, like after the verb. How? First, they can immediately follow the main verb, like Chandan likes playing soccer. What does he like? Playing soccer. This would be verb, this is object, this is subject. So playing is a gerund, it immediately follows verb. Or it can be placed after preposition at the end. Monica is fond of cooking. Now here verb is this is object, this is subject. So it can be placed after the preposition of. What exactly is a preposition? The words which connect to nouns or noun or pronoun and show their link in the sentence. Like what's the link between Monica and cooking? Of, fond of cooking. Alright, so we can have more examples like he likes playing cricket. He likes swimming. If I say he swims, then it will be a verb that he swims. He likes swimming. The process when someone swims is, its name is swimming. So that is a gerund or a noun. Okay, now let's look at the next one, that's infinitives. Infinitives act as other parts of speech in a sentence. They do not act as verbs. What they do is, to the base form of verb, for example, if I say I buy cookies, to the base form of verb, the initial form, we just add a to preposition on the left hand side of it and it becomes an infinitive. Let's see some examples. Rohit loves to play. Now over here, play is not a verb. What's the verb? Loves. This is the object and this is the subject. Now Rohit loves to play. Now play originally was a verb. Like in the sentence, I play every day. That's a verb. But over here, it is not being used as a verb. It's used as an infinitive. It has become a noun, and when we add to it, it becomes infinitive. So over here, play is an infinitive. I want to work. Want is the verb. Work is infinitive. To has been added to it. You promised to buy me a diamond ring. Promised is the verb and buy is an infinitive, because originally it was a verb, but we've added to it, so it has become a noun, a name of a process. Jack always forgets to eat. Forgets is the verb and eat is an infinitive. Do you want to call your family now? Want is verb and call is infinitive. He advised me to become a vegetarian. Advised is the verb. To become is an infinitive. Alright. Now, the third one, auxiliary or helping verbs. What exactly are helping verbs? Helping verbs are used together with the main verb to show their presence, whether it's in the present or past, to show their tense, or to form negative or to form a question. So what exactly happens is, helping verb plus main verb gives the complete idea of the action that's happening in that sentence. Okay. Now auxiliary verbs also add functional or grammatical meaning to the sentences. The common auxiliary verbs are have, be, do. These are the most common auxiliary verbs: have, be, or do. Have works as has, have, had. Be like is, am, are. Do like do, does, did. Okay. Now let's see some examples. Mr. Narendra Modi is taking an oath from the president. Now what is the verb? Is taking. Taking is the main verb and is shows that right now he's taking. This is the helping verb or auxiliary verb. He was staring at me. Staring is the main verb and was is the helping verb that shows that it happened in the past. It was happening in the past. Ravi has gone away. Gone is the main verb and has is the helping verb that shows that some process has happened. It has completed. Okay. We'll discuss these in detail. To understand the exact and complete meaning of these helping verbs, we need to go through tenses. That will be covered in another video. Please go through the tenses video to get a clear understanding of how the helping verbs should be used in sentences. Alright. Now let's discuss some of the helping verbs. I discussed that main helping verbs are do, have, and be. So helping verbs that come under be are is, am, are. These come for present. Was, were for future. Now under have, they come has for present, have for plural present, and had for past. Under do or does or did. Now these are also helping verbs: can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, ought to. What exactly do they specify in a sentence, or what do they point to? We'll discuss them. First, helping verbs are categorized under two things. One is the main helping verb. Second are the modals. The ones mentioned above, is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, do, does, did, they are main helping verbs. And the rest, can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, ought to, they are modal verbs. Now, main helping verbs are further categorized in three types. First is present, like whatever is happening right now, that help the verb to specify that whatever action is being shown in the sentence is happening right now in present. The ones used are is, am, are, do, does. For past, to show that the action has happened in the past, was, were, did. And to show some possession, like something belongs to me or something belongs to someone, we use has, have, had. How are they used? That will be completely explained in tenses. We'll go through that in another video. Modal verbs are verbs which are used to express permissions or possibility or certainty or necessity of the action of the verb sentence, like can, could, shall, should, may, might, will, would, must, ought to. Now let's discuss the rules of usage of do, does, or did. They have negative forms and interrogative forms as well. The negative form of do is don't. The negative form of does is doesn't. The negative form of did is didn't. Alright, how are they used? First, they are used depending on the person for which they are used. I hope we are clear about the persons, that what exactly is first person, second person, third person. In case we still have doubts, please go through our video regarding the sentence structure. Now let's see what exactly is person. Let's say two people are talking. Then one is speaking, one is listening, and the third one is someone regarding whom these two are talking. So the person who speaks is the first person, the person who listens is the second person, and about whom they are discussing is the third person. For example, Ravi told Sheila that Rajiv will not come to the party that day. So Ravi is the one who spoke, that's the first person. Sheila is the one who heard, that is the second person. And about the third person, that is Rajiv. They were discussing about Rajiv, so Rajiv is the third person. Okay, talking about pronouns, I told you. So I is the first person, you is the second person, and the third person, let's say he, she, it, they, these are third persons. Okay, so do or don't are not used with third persons, like singulars, he, she, it. With all three, do or don't will not be used. Rest, with everything, do or don't would be used, like it would be used with I, we, you, they. With all these, do or don't would be used. Then he, she, it. What do they use? They use does. He does, she does, it does. Or he doesn't like cookies. She doesn't like cookies. It doesn't like cookies. I don't like cookies. We don't like cookies. You don't like cookies. They don't like cookies. Okay. Now did is used with all of them. Now with plural noun or subject. For example, there are two people in the subject. Ram and Sham do not, or Ram and Sham do like cookies. If there is a singular noun or subject, for example, Ram does not or does. If there is a singular, then it's does or doesn't. If there is a plural, then it is do or don't. Did is used with both of them. Now there is one major difference that is between these three, and that is specific about did, is that did is always used with first form of verb. Now what exactly is first form of verb? That is the present form of verb. Verb actually has three forms. Present, that's what shows that what's happening right now. Past, that's the second form that shows that something has happened. Past participle, that's a third form that shows that something has happened long time back. So with did, always and always first form of verb will be used Did he buy apples? Okay. This is a very important point. A lot of people make mistake in it, especially in speaking. Please note it down that with did, only and only first form of verb will be used. That is the present form of verb will be used. What exactly is the present form of verb? We'll explain it to you in a few minutes. Okay, let's see some examples first. Do you like your job? Yes, we do. I don't want to go. Over here, do is used with you, we, I. He doesn't like me. Does she come daily? Yes, she does. He didn't like me. Did they cry with him? Yes, he did. So did is used with all persons and singular or plural, whichever may be the subject. But always to be noted, did is always used with first form of verb, like, cry. Okay. Now, let's see one more example. Let's say there's a teacher and there are two students. One of them said, "Sir, may I come in?" And the other said, "Sir, can I come in?" So, the professor said, "Anjali," that's the girl, "Anjali, you may come in, while Sam," that's the boy, "Sam, you stay out of the class." Why did he say that? Observe the difference between the two questions. Sam asked, "Can I come in?" while Anjali asked, "May I come in?" There's a huge difference between can and may. We usually use can in most of the places. For example, you have to borrow a pen. Can I borrow your pen? That's incorrect. It has to be may I borrow your pen. What's the difference between these two? We'll explain that. Can is used for expressing ability. For example, if a person says, "Can I come in?" If the door is open, if you have proper legs and if there is no barrier, of course you can come in. That shows ability. Whether you can walk in or not, whether you can jump in or hop in or not. May expresses asking permission. It's not about ability, it's about permission. So whenever there is a permission to be asked, you have to use may and not can. That's a very common mistake. So for expressing ability or possibility, it would be can, or for a request, it would be can, or could. Could is used for something that is not happening right now, something that you suggest might happen in future, or something that should have been done like in the past or future. So examples, they can fix it. They have the utensils, they have all the measures, they can fix it. Can you help me? Here you are asking, here you're not requesting or you're not, asking for a permission or something. You are asking to know whether the other person has the ability to help you or not. Can you help me? Do you have all the measures to help me? Would it be possible for you to help me? We could have fixed it ourselves. Now here, why is could used? That something has not been done, right? We could have fixed it ourselves. We could have said this instead. That's used for something where something could have been done. It is not done. May is used for asking permission. For example, may I come in? Or expressing possibility. He may visit us tonight. That's for something that's not sure. He may visit us. He may or he may not. Might is used when possibility is to be expressed, and that also in future. For example, I might stay here tonight. That's something that's not happened right now. I might stay here tonight. They might give us a discount. That's not a confirmation. That's maybe or may not be. That they might give us a discount. The next is will. Will is used in willingness, prediction, or promise, where you show that something is for sure. Complete promise that I will stay here tonight. It will rain tomorrow. It's confirmed. It's a promise. I will complete it today. Over there, will is used, and would is used for request or permission. For example, would you please pass the salt? Would you pass the salt, please? Preference. Would you prefer tea or coffee? When you're asking a preference of someone, then also would is used. Will or would, may or might, can or could. Let's check the next ones. Shall or should. Shall is used when there is an offer or suggestion and it is uncertain. That means it's not confirmed. It's a possibility. Shall I do it or will you? Shall we meet at 2:30 p.m.? Like, it's not confirmed. Shall we meet? I'm not saying will we meet or should we meet. It's a shall. It's uncertain. Should. Should is used in recommendation and uncertain predictions. We should check everything. That is a recommendation that before leaving the house, before going on a trip, we should check everything. Profits should increase next year. That's a prediction that profits should increase, but it's not uncertain. If I say profits will increase next year, that means it's a guaranteed declaration that profits will increase. But here it's uncertain, so profits should increase next year. Must is used when we have to specify some necessity. I must go now. That means mandatorily, specifically, have to. I must go now. Ought to is used when there is a compulsion. When you tell something that this has to be done, it's compulsory. You ought to follow the rules. Okay, you ought to follow the rules. Now, let's see the forms of verb that we were talking about. Whenever we are discussing about some verb, it can be used in various cases. Like, for example, something is happening right now. There is an action that is happening right now. Then a verb is used. That's the present form. That's the first form. If in case something has happened already, then it's the past form. And in case something has already happened long time back, in that case, it will be past participle. They decide when the action is or has been completed. Let's see them based on some examples. The base form of first word, let's say sing. The present form, somebody is regularly sings, or it's a generic form, it would be sing. If it was in past, it would be sang. If it is in past participle, it's sung. So there are some words in which all the three forms, first, second and third forms, are different, are separate. Sing, sang, sung. Second one, bite, bit, bitten, has, have, had, write, wrote, written. Sometimes in some verbs, the second and third forms are same, like think, thought, thought, catch, caught, caught, bring, brought, brought. Alright, but in some cases, all the three forms are same. Cut, 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 set, 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 hit, 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 hurt, hurt, hurt. There are a lot of verbs and all of them have first, second and third forms. Somewhere the second and third and first, all three are different. Somewhere second and third are same. Somewhere all the three are same. Okay. Now let's check some examples and let's find out the errors in them. The first is I love listening music. Now what's an error here? I love listening music. Over here, let's see. I love listening to music. Whenever there is a music or books over there and wherever there is a gerund, see, listening is a gerund, so it will be to music. Are you agree with me? Are is not used here because are is used in the progressive state where there is an ing with a verb. So over here it will be, do you agree with me? These shots are more cheaper than those. Over here, cheaper already means that you're comparing those two and one is, in degree, it's cheaper than those. So why we use double degree? More is not required over here. So it will be these shots are cheaper than those. They didn't wrote this. Remember we discussed that with did or didn't, only the first form of verb will be used. So wrote is the second form of verb. Write, wrote, written. So what should be used? They didn't write this. Okay. Does Ravi and Sham know you? Over here, how many people are there? Ravi and Sham, two people. So it's plural subject. So does is not used with plural. It's only used with singular. So what will come? Do Ravi and Sham know you? I am having a laptop. Now, this sentence, I am having, is very commonly used among us. I am having a book. I am having a bike. That's incorrect. Because am having is specifically one phrase that is used when you're eating something or when you're drinking something. So what we say is, I have a laptop. Never say I'm having with something that's not eatable. I am having or we are having is when you're eating something. I have a laptop. Please join me. Please allow me joining your group. Over here, this gerund is not correct. It will be, please allow me to join your group. The infinitive will come here. Drivers shall stop at red lights. Now, shall is used where it's not a confirmed thing. It's a possibility. Now, at red light, drivers should stop. It's not a possibility. It has to be done. So, drivers must stop at red lights. It's a mandatory thing. You might not smoke here. When you have to stop a person from smoking, you can't say might. Might is not a confirmation. So what you say, you must not smoke here. That's a mandatory thing. You must not smoke here. He should obey the instructions. Now, should is not used for confirmation. However, instructions have to be obeyed. Rules and instructions. So what is used? Ought to. He ought to obey the instructions. Okay. I hope after this video, a lot of things will be clear about verbs. Now you will be able to use verbs more efficiently. Thank you.